Hey guys, welcome to Peppers and Flowers. First of all, I'd like to apologize about last week. Thanks for your patience and support. We had some things that came up which prevented us from shooting our fourth episode. So we are doing that today. And we'll also have a new episode coming out this Saturday as well for you guys to listen. So after this week, we'll be right back on track. Now, in celebration of President's Day and just life itself, I guess, James has written a song entitled Forever, which really has to do with inspiration and also how being best friends with your wife is the most beautiful thing you can do. And so I apologize for the sound quality. We did it on a phone, but for the most part, you can hear everything. And we'll play that for you in just a moment. And before I play it for you, today's episode is kind of a special episode. We are going to do our first training with you guys. And the topics for that is going to be sales and customer service, both how they relate and how they differ, and how actually the systems and tips we give you today, you'll be able to implement and actually relate that into sales or relate that sales into customer service and how they actually are a lot closer in relativeness than you think. All right, so without further ado, we're going to be playing James' song entitled Forever. Enjoy.
1, 2, 3. Forever lasts a very long time. Most do want it, simply can't understand it. And tomorrows will never end. We will still be forever friends. Forever. Life really isn't too short. It just ends here on planet Earth, and then forever. Life goes on and on, enjoyable just like your favorite song. Going to higher heights every single day. Oh yeah, forever. Forever there is no long, no lack whatsoever. Forever captures the essence of life, never meant to die or fade away. Just to express in every shade of gray expression, just being yourself, relating to others, growing forever. Life goes on and on, enjoyable just like your favorite song. Going to higher heights every single day. Oh yeah, forever.
Hi there. Welcome to Peppers and Flowers, where sales and marketing doesn't make sense. Please join us for the conversation.
Man, James, I think our listeners thoroughly enjoyed your song, first of all. And I think
It's my humble beginnings of what I hope to do for the future.
well, we're gonna have to get that produced and put all the right sounds and beats and all that stuff. So it'll sound like
Thank you.
it'll sound really produced. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. So, James, why don't you take lead for a second? I know today we are going to kind of discuss this in the intro a little bit, but today we're going to do something different. We're going to do a training. Really, I mean, not like a typical training. Like we're trying to stay away from a lecture format, I guess. So
Absolutely.
we don't want to make it feel like you're listening to some lecturer with PowerPoint or something like that.
Right.
Just to clarify, today we're going to talk specifically about sales. We'll share some systems, things that work for us, things that haven't worked for us. And we're also going to talk about the topic of customer service, how that relates to itself. And then we're going to tie it together and show you how actually customer service and sales actually are pretty similar in ways and how they can tie together and actually help you a lot. So
Right.
we're going to cover all that today. And then at the end of this training, I guess, for this episode of Peppers and Flowers, you should feel like you have some new tools or brainstorming ideas to give you some practical methods that you could implement into, your day-to-day job. If you're in customer service or if you're in sales or
Hmm.
really anything, I think you could apply in what we're going to teach you today. You could apply to practically anything. Kind of just gives you insight.
Absolutely. I mean, as far as the listeners are concerned, first of all, I mean, Daniel and I really appreciate you tuning in, on a weekly basis to tune into what we have to say about sales and marketing. And I really echo what Daniel said about, this crosses disciplines. I mean, even if you're in a career in customer service or telemarketing or even human resources or project management, marketing or even engineering, marketing and sales strategies and techniques can help you in your profession. And especially if you're a marketing professional or a sales executive, I mean, these are areas that, touch upon fundamental and also advanced levels of service and being and things like that. So customer service and sales go hand in hand. A lot of us may not think that to be the case. We think, well, sales is just about kind of being polished and asking for the business, and well, where's customer service and all of that? And we're going to talk about this and dissect it a little bit here and have a little bit of fun with it and talk about some stories of our own. So, Daniel, is there anything you want to start off with as far as a question to me or the audience, or any other thoughts you have before we begin?
Any questions? No, no questions right now. I think we should just jump right into it.
Sounds good. So, I have a cool little story because customer service is something that goes really deep into my profession because when I started in business, I started in customer service, and I shared that probably in the last podcast. But I spent 4 or 5 years in customer service and doing high volume calls, order entry, data collection, things like that. And I was on the phones pretty much all day long talking to customers, talking to government institutions, talking to universities and different agencies that were out there. And my job was to just, answer the phone politely, talk to them over the headset, and take an order, fulfill returns, replacements, take care of credit issues, things like that. So, I mean, my day-to-day job was to just be a polite person and cater to every request that was brought to my attention. And, sometimes in customer service, they say the customer's always right. And a lot of times we think, well, that's not the case. Their customers aren't always right. But, that's kind of the attitude of things. And that's more than what the truth is, but it's the attitude of how you should perceive things. And so anyways, my training in customer service really developed. And I later on, as a sales professional, never forgot what I learned during those my formative years of customer service. And I think as a sales executive and even in marketing or anything else, when you take customer service seriously, you take people seriously. And so that's the reason why I think it's such an important thing, because you're not just looking at a deal or a transaction or exchange of goods for money, but you're looking at an individual, a client, a person, a human being. And you're thinking, how can I help this person have a good day? How can I put a smile on their face? How can I make them happy? And you're not like this genie that comes out of a bottle and does all this magic and they're happy. But in the ways that you can, what can you do to make that person happy? And so I have a little story that I want to tell the audience and share with you, Daniel. Is I have a customer who's a local restaurant. It's called Vicky's Restaurant, right? It's a Greek-owned hamburger place, right? They own. It's one brother owns one location on the west side, and the one brother owns a location on the east side. So they have two restaurants, family-owned. And the particular person I'm talking about, he and I have been doing Facebook ads and Facebook marketing for his restaurant. We grew his likes to 400 in the first month, got a lot of followers, and doing a lot of interaction with the local market, and he got a lot of business and so forth. But we thought, let's do something different. And so I thought, I'm going to put my customer service hat on this time. And I drove out to Tommy's restaurant. We sat down for a little bit. And I was like, I'm going to just interview him and ask him, what is his wish list? What does he want to do? I mean, if he could just dream up a dream, what would he want to do? And so I sat down with Tommy and I started asking him, Tommy, we've been doing Facebook for a while and all this other stuff. And is there anything else that you want us to do for you? He's like, well, I just want to grow my business and have a little fun doing it, things like that. So I go, well, what's something creative, Tommy, that you can do? Something that's out of the box, something that would make you happy. And he was like, well, I know in Riverside, in this area, there's a lot of cruises. They have a lot of cool things going on that, draw a lot of attention. And I'm into, old cars and things like that. I have a old El Camino that I fix up. And he was like, I would love to have a cruise. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, is there some way you could help me put on a cruise at my restaurant, on a monthly basis? So I was like, yeah, we could do that. I mean, I put some thought into it. I was like, let's have fun with this. Let's make this something that would, give you a personal lift in your personal life, but also draw customers to your store by having a big cruise, right? And so we drafted this cool campaign where we did email marketing for Tommy to the local market. We did Facebook ads still to draw people to a landing page where they filled out a form. And we said, if you want to register for the cruise, go to the landing page and fill out this form, leave us your model, make, and year of the car, and things like that. So they gave us their contact information, registered online. And the very first cruise we did for Tommy was January of 2019, almost exactly a year ago. And he got 100 cars to show up, fully registered on the website, and showed up for the cruise. And so, I went to this cruise on the Saturday, that we had it. And these cars are just like rolling in, these old Bel Airs and all kinds of cool looking colors. And they even had old fashioned police cars coming in,
Yeah.
And they just decked it out. And it was just amazing because you have a huge parking lot full of these cruise cars and they're just rolling in all day long because the cruise was like for like 5 hours that day, right? And so they're just rolling in, parking, and it was just an amazing event. It was a sight to see too. And I was like, wait a minute, it's not just a cool thing, but like this is getting a lot of foot traffic into the store too. Got a lot of new customers coming in. So Tommy was just getting an increase in sales. His business was growing. And he started doing this month after month after month. And it just became a thing. The area started knowing, not that like, he actually drew from different counties like LA, San Diego, Orange County, people participating in the cruise. And it just became a thing in the Riverside area. This cruise happened at Vicky's. And so he's really excited about it. Now he wants to start selling T-shirts and all this other stuff and make it a big deal. But just a local mom and pop shop. And I was like, Tommy, at the end of it all, what was the sales increase? Like, do we really make a difference in your business? I mean, his childhood dreams, his desires, some of those got fulfilled, but what was the net profit? He was like, James, man, on the days we have those cruises, we grew our sales by 50%. And I was like, okay, that's a good number. I could hold on to that. And so, he had an increase in sales. His business got marketed to different counties, and they're just loving it. They're doing the cruises to this day. We're still doing the same marketing for him, and it still works like a charm. So, that's a little bit of customer service. How can I help Tommy do something above and beyond the normal, just getting foot traffic into his restaurant? He's doing something that's a hobby of his, and he had music and all kinds of cool stuff. And it was just a great, great thing. So, yeah.
Basically,
so that's my little story.
the sale came from you going into it without a predetermined sort of service, but initiating I wish there was a better term instead of just saying customer service every time, but you initiated your customer service on him and was there to listen and actually be helpful and say, what is it that you want to do? Sorry. What can we help you with? And you were able to, and this whole new project came up by, in a way, like prefacing the whole thing into a service than a pitch.
Yeah, you start talking about things in a way that is at a different level. You're no longer talking to a customer you're talking to a peer, right? You're talking to someone that knows you and trusts you now, and you could just accelerate things to the dream state, to thinking of things and dreaming things up. And it no longer fits in that comfortable cookie cutter anymore. It's not the standard, we'll do X, Y, and Z services and grow your sales by 5 or 10%. And we'll measure the results over a period of time. No, it's let's do something you just want to do as a person, and let's have fun doing it first of all, and let's see the results this way. When you take things to another level, so 50% versus 5 or 10%, I'll take any day,
Yeah.
But the whole thing was Tommy wasn't so fixated on just growing the business. He was really fixated on having cool cruises and having a good time with the people in the neighborhood, and he achieved that.
Yeah, like you may not have gotten the same outcome if you looked at the current service, which now I'm going to go into making some practical stuff here, but real quick is just add this story. Customer service and sales, right? So right now I'll talk a little bit about sales into that situation. So if you went into that situation and knew, well, Tommy has Facebook ads with me. And so maybe what I want to do is squeeze a little more out of them and do like an upsell, And I know squeezing a little more out of them sounds kind of bad, but my point is like, you're doing something, one service with them. And you go, man, I really think this customer can benefit from doing whatever it might be, like SEO or something. And you go to Tommy and go, hey, Tommy, so here, I would love to share this with you. So I think the best thing we could do next is like SEO. Here's
Right.
what I think we should do. It's going to cost you this much, this, this, and this. What do you think? Right? Now, whether you're new at sales or you're a sales mogul or whatever, it kind of goes along those lines, right?
Right.
But if you flip it and phrase it differently, where you're probably doing the sale, right? But you're just saying in your head, I don't know exactly what he needs. Therefore, I'm just going to service my customers and they'll tell me what they'd like to do. And then I can go, you know how we can accomplish that? We could do it this way, like this. And so you've turned it into a brainstorming, collaborative environment where there's no pushback. It's they're giving as much as you are because there's not this wall of hesitation because they feel like they're being sold.
Right.
And that could be done through customer service. And I think that what you did portrays that very well. Because the services came later to fulfill his idea that he had.
Right.
It's almost the same as when you meet someone in person and it's I mean, come on, people aren't dumb. Like when you meet someone, they kind of know one of you is going to be pitching something. Normally it's kind of a discussion of doing business together. But, and we'll go into sales process in a second, but I think the small things of, don't forget to maybe, a little thing like, hey, James, you want a drink? You want some water? You want some Diet Coke? Do you want anything? And he might go, no. I'm like, hey, oh, come on. You sure you just want, I'm going to go grab it. Do you want anything? And then most of the time people are humble, but they appreciate those things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, lunch is on me, or little things like that. People really like that. And I think that is rapport building, of course. But I think also highlighting to the customer what it's like when you work together, right? People,
Right.
If you treat them like a princess and they go, man, this guy's smoozing on me, like he's treating me like a princess. Okay. I think there's a difference to a certain extent, but they can't deny that they like it,
Right. Yeah, totally.
You can't deny it. Like if someone's treating me like that, it'd be very hard for me like not to enjoy myself.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Like sometimes, I mean, we hear that phrase, "Fake it till you make it." It's like, maybe we wake up on the wrong side of the bed and we're just feeling groggy. We go out in the field, or we go see a client or whatever it is, and we don't feel that extra, leap in our step, and we walk in tired, kind of like, yeah, I'm here. I promised I'd be here at 10:30 today. Here I am. It's like, but we're not there, mentally, emotionally. We're just kind of checked out. We're so tired for whatever reason. Those days happen, right? But then, like, you got to kind of fake it, like, "Hey, how's your day?" We actually ask that question. We actually say, "Yeah, how you doing today? I'm listening." And we kind of probe. "Oh, yeah, did you have a good weekend?" Or "How's your President's Day weekend?" Right? You kind of probe and just get
Yeah.
to know people and ask questions. But we're not really there, right? We're kind of tired. We don't want to ask those questions and listen to things, right? But then you fake it till you make it, and then before you know it, you're in a better mood. You're connecting with the person on different topics. You're talking about how they went to the mountains and they had a good time snowboarding or whatever. And you start talking about, "Oh, I went to the beach and went surfing in the same day," which we can't do here in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
and
Right.
and then you're connecting with them, and now you are feeling better. You faked it until you made it. Now you're feeling better, and now you're staying in that same mode of, like we talk about customer service. You're servicing your prospect or customer in the things you ask them, the way you talk to them, the way you present yourself in a very friendly way, in a
Well,
positive, sometimes friendly way.
we talked about this last time, and I'll just briefly state it again, is um, people like to buy things. People love to buy things. We're buyers. That's what we do. Uh, but people don't like to be sold. And this is not anything new. People know this, right?
Mhm.
But you have the power to create, well, not just the flow and control, and we'll talk about that in a second too, but you have the power to set the tone up, right? So I would rather feel like we're on a team together. We understand each other. I would fight for you. You'd fight for me. We have this kind of mutual respect, um, and create a service environment. And so that subconsciously is what they're feeling. They don't feel like this is a sales call. They feel like this is more of a servicing. And then they get in that right mindset and they get a little more relaxed.
Oh yeah,
They're
right,
not as like
right.
tense, right? And then you know what? A certain point, and this is more of a sales thing too, but let's just say they work with you or they don't, right? But if you leave a
Mhm,
lasting impression, that is going to be massive. You know, that's gonna be massive. So
mhm,
that's the reason why, like, someone would pick you. Like, let's say you lose a sale, right? But so you service them, you show them the value, what it looks like to work with you before
mhm.
you spend more time on the phone with them. You're not rushing them. You're not pushing them to like spend the deal. Now I'm just giving you an extreme example, right? You're just
Mhm,
servicing them, a prospect, customer service for a prospect, which sounds weird,
mhm, mhm.
but maybe they go, okay, I'll think about it. But
Right.
they'll most likely come back to you if you have given them enough reason to, because we're all humans, right? When we relate to something, it's hard to like let that go. So when they're
Yeah.
making a decision with other companies, they might choose you purely on the fact, like, you might be more expensive, but they might
Right.
choose you because they go, man, every other person felt like I was selling me something. And this guy, I know he's more expensive, but I'd rather work with
Mhm,
them because were like there for me. They were helping me out. Like, I didn't even work with them and they were like giving me advice on systems, and you should really do
mhm,
this and think, that will that has a bigger impact. So let's put some stuff into practicality. Like, how can you implement this? Like, maybe we give some systems on how this works. And maybe let's focus on customer service aspect first, and then we'll go into
mhm.
sales, and then we'll kind of tie it together and give them like a big picture. But customer
Yeah.
service,
Mhm. Yeah, I
I
would say
mean,
like go ahead, Daniel.
well, I was going to say, like, um, with customer service, I think the mindset is, I'll say this real quick. The mindset is, okay, when someone calls 1-800 customer service, okay, they're already a customer, they just need support. they might be a little irritated, right? Probably, I don't know the percentage, but probably close to half or something, right? I'm just assuming, I don't know. Of the customers that call have a really short fuse because they're already irritated. And then
Mhm.
if you do things like, well, hold on, please hold, let me transfer you. Oh, that's not the right person. It like adds that irritation. But the weird thing is they're invested. So as irritating as they get, the percentage of people that actually hang up, it has got to be extremely low because
Absolutely.
they're buying it. They need
Right.
support because they're paying for something. And so as frustrated as they'll get, they need to be on that phone call.
Right.
So
Right.
they'll be on it for like 5 hours waiting
Yeah.
because
I
they need
know.
support, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are invested and they're stuck in there that because they need to talk to you. But a
Mhm.
prospect that is not a client or they don't have to do that. Like they won't do that.
Right.
You know, they'll just hang up after a couple seconds and then it's done.
Mhm.
So being able to tap into customer service mindset, and this is more this is more like philosophical, but being able to get their mindset right where they would wait on the phone like they would in customer service, even if they're extremely frustrated.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a weird thing because people try to avoid uh well, to a certain extent conflict, but people try to avoid inconvenience. So they'll choose like, what's the least likely thing for me to experience something bad, right? But I keep saying it because it's just weird, but they'll do it for customer service,
Mhm.
right? It's weird. So we can tap into that mindset with them. You can do that as a sales thing, and you'll be able to extend your time that you have with these prospects. Um, but let's add this into like practicality. Um, James, do you have something to add real quick?
Well, yeah, I guess like it's kind of like when people have issues, whether it's something towards a company or a product, or receiving bad service, for example. Who do you complain to, right? I mean, you complain to the people around you. You complain to people that caused the pain or whatever it was, or you just complain to pretty much anybody who will listen to you, right? And when you have an issue like a customer service issue, they call it, that person needs someone to hear them and not necessarily even provide the solution, but just to hear that they were ripped off, that they were treated poorly, that they got the wrong end of the deal or whatever it is. It's like they need someone just to be able to like, uh, lend an ear, right? And so I think in sales, when we say, putting on good customer service, you almost have to lead in with that, because, I think that's why people even ask the question, how are you today? Right. It's like, you never know what the person's going to say, they might give you the worst story you've ever heard about someone going through something. Right. And like I was in two conversations yesterday, and in both conversations, people were being hospitalized. My mother-in-law is in the hospital now. And I'm, being treated for heart disease. And then I could go to the next conversation, my cousin was hospitalized and all kinds of stuff. And like, and I'm thinking, yeah, my son was just out of school all last week too, because he was dealing with some health things too. And it's like, wait a minute, what's, is there any good news anywhere? So it's like, when you ask that question, how are you? How are you doing today? It's like, you never know what to expect, right? Um,
Yeah, it's also how you phrase it too, right? Like if you sound like you're saying how are you with a dull voice because it's just part of your script, which is normally I
mhm.
say like if you say how are you, you need to put like feeling behind it and you need to mean it. If you don't, they're going to know and it's just going to sound like, "Oh great, they're going to sell me something." Like, "Hey, this is Daniel. How are you today?" Right? It sounds like
Right, right.
so crappy, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you word it differently like, "Hey, this is Daniel from XYZ company." Like, and you know their name, right? James, how's it going, man? How's it going? What, like, you can add a little more feel to it without just making it seem so dull. Like, I know you guys are tired. Everyone's like working hard, but man, just you got to put a little feel into it. You know, you got to convince them because they'll know.
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely. You know,
saying it. But
and it kind of goes like in the same regard, like when you shake someone's hand or you greet somebody, right? Like you want to give a nice handshake and a good look in the eyes, you know, and make that human connection, they call it, right? So it's like that goes a long ways, you know. And you know, if you shake someone's hand nicely, look them in the eyes, and not stare them down, look them in the eyes, but kind of look nicely, like, hey, and then you say, hey, how are you? They'll say, yeah, I'm doing okay, you know, or no, maybe not so good, or whatever it is. You take those few minutes right there to break the ice and listen to each other and connect. And that's customer service right there. We don't, you know, customer service isn't like this whole drawn out thing of trying to explain every nook and cranny of what we're doing as a company and why we're here to serve them and help them and be an advantage to them. You know, it's really just about checking in with people, saying how you doing today, really, like you said, honestly listening to them, and then allowing that to be the beginning point of a long meeting of finding out what their needs are, finding out what their wants are, finding out what the, you know, the kind of the higher level types of services can be provided, and how to reach those. And then that's where, like you said in the beginning, like when you do get customer service, it's no longer this kind of you know, fill in a order request, but now it's like dreaming up things and coming up with new solutions that you might not have otherwise. And
right.
that's where it gets exciting, you know. And that's where long-term relationships come in, because you know, this person might just be buying say a car from you just because they need a mode of transportation. But if you have a good conversation with that person, you know, you might get some referral business out of it. You might get a return customer coming back in a few years after the lease is done to get something else. You might get some, you know, things you wouldn't have otherwise if you
Yeah,
didn't spend the
but
time.
but it's also the same reason why this is customer service related too. Seriously, I think the underlining factor of it is it's the same thing when like you pick out your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, right? There's a certain part of you that you pick them because you're like, wow, I like how they look or whatever it might be. But subconsciously, you're really picking them uh, potentially because of your instincts that you have in a way, right? So maybe that's reproduction, or maybe that's having kids, or other things of that nature. I kind of went blank there for a second, but you're
Yeah.
picking them because of the ideas you're creating of how it might be living with this person potentially for a long period of time,
Hmm.
right? So, which is why sometimes in relationships you might have clearer answers than others. So you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend and they start acting all weird and you're like, man, this person's crazy, and then you dump them, right? Because
Hmm.
subconsciously you're like, this isn't going to work out because I don't want to spend the rest of my life with this person, right?
Hmm.
But then you find someone who you feel like you connect, you get the right relationship, and then it lasts because it doesn't just magically happen. You're putting effort into it. You like
Yeah.
the relationship. The other person's putting
Right.
effort into it too. You can recognize. So it's give and take
Mhm.
equally. Um, you're in it for the other person. You're not in it for yourself.
Mhm.
And that is a form of customer service, if you will. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the same thing you do, or why people prefer to purchase a car from this sales guy, because they go, man, I really like James. You know, I can see this being my like sales guy for now on. So I'll go buy like an Audi, and I got James taking care of me. That's great. That's cool. Because James will like give me free car washes. He's looking out for me. He texts me. You know, it's
Yeah.
a give thing. And so I think that finally the reason is people buy cars is because it has nothing to do really with practicality of it. I mean, truthfully, you know, people try to get the nicest car they can,
Hmm.
but at the end of it, they also are doing it because they like their experience they're having. They get excited about it. The people are taking care of them, taking care of them, and stuff like that. But let's move on and add, since this is a training, let's add some more context on like practical. So let's add some practical examples and how maybe you could actually implement some customer service into sales a little bit. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? So I'm going to explain something real quick about sales. And this is the most simple form, right? Now, everyone has different sales process, which is fine. But this is kind of how a simple sales process that I feel might relate to a lot of people. So there's a prospect you have not spoken to yet, okay? Which means they're like a cold call or cold email or whatever. And you contact them. Okay, however that's done. And then you create like a, what is it? Let's just call it a discovery call. Okay, so you guys chat on Facebook or wherever you're doing, and then you do your initial phone call, which is like your first scheduled call. So your discovery call, let's just call it that. In that call, you're just kind of figuring out what they're doing, how many employees you have, what are your goals, what are you currently doing? Okay, cool. You know, and then you're able to kind of identify where areas you're able to add your services or add value or whatever it is. And then there's a second call, which is like your closing call. You get your proposal together, you share it with them, you pitch them, you go for the close, you try to make sure they understand everything, and then the sale's done, right? So in simple forms, it's like that process. Mm-hmm. In terms of discovery call, right? These are like the first handful of initial phone calls. Mm-hmm. If you changed your mindset to not worry about the deal, like don't worry about it. Just pretend that the deal's already closed. Okay. Mm-hmm. So lose your nerves. Don't feel like the most important thing though is control, right? So keep on the control. Don't just lose topic and start blabbing about random stuff. But you're keeping the control, but you have the mindset that the deal's already closed. We've already charged his card. He's a customer. He's a client. Mm-hmm. Having that mindset can then put you into a different mindset of, okay, everyone else is doing the same thing. I'm going to now service him, and he will recognize that. So you might ask the same questions like, well, no, what are your goals and this and that? But then you're doing little things like collaboration is a great customer service tactic. So collaborations, like, I'll give you an example right now. So if I ask James as a business owner, I go, James, what are your goals? Okay. So he was like, James, okay, so what kind of goals are you looking to do in the next month? And James, let's say you said, I really want to sell more cars. So there's two routes I can take. I can take the sales route and go, okay, cool. Okay. How much profit do you get off these cars, right? I could just go in the next question and keep going and going. Or I could throw customer service into it and go, okay, so you want to sell more cars, James? A great way to do that would be, have you thought about this? Or, oh, okay, cool. What kind of cars are you trying to sell? Because I find when I went to the car dealership, they had a lot of excess inventory of this. And I feel like people really like that car because of that. And I think if you focus more on like selling your lower end car, you see what I'm saying? I'm opening up for more conversation. Mm-hmm. And he'll naturally levitate towards that conversation. So I'm still in control. I'm still trying to get information because I can't do anything more unless I know more about his business. But instead of just asking like these linear questions, I'm able to now build rapport, make them feel like what it would be like to work with me, which is like the customer service aspect, by creating more of a conversation and loosening up and saying things like, man, what might be work really cool? What if we did that? And like, what do you think about that? That's the phrasing things that way gets people to be a little more relaxed and levitate towards you. You see what I mean?
Yeah. I'll simplify it too. Like, I think that's excellent the way you presented it, because people at the end of the day, they don't want to hear what they already know. If if I ask you a question, it's not because I don't have my own set of answers and understandings. It's because I want to see what you would bring to the table that might be a little bit different or even better than what I have in my own mind, right? So it's like we ask questions to get ahead, or to get a little bit more, you know, information that would make better decisions, right? So it's not that we don't know a thing about, you know, say I'm asking a question about, you know, Daniel, I just want to get out of this industry, you know, technology industry is just kind of heavy and there's just too much competition. You know, I want to get into like construction, you know, and it doesn't mean I have no idea about the housing industry or the mortgage industry, or about, you know, how to, you know, what it costs to, you know, buy supplies at Home Depot or Lowe's. It's just because I want to get into that field. But I come to you and I say, well, you know a thing about this, right? And you would just be like, wow, that's my thing, right? That's my bread and butter. And you could break things down to me that would make my life a lot easier, right? Make this transition from a difficult industry to a refreshment into a new industry a lot easier, right? So, and if you had politeness in your tone and kind of this care of like, yeah, man, this guy's going through a hard time, I'm going to just walk him through this transition, I'd feel like, man, yeah, that's what I needed. You know, I need that help. And so I would look to you as a trusted advisor or a consultant, right?
Yeah, well, that goes back to when people say try to be more of a consultant, which I 100% agree with. But don't also forget to just be yourself and be personal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, people like people, and we all had friends growing up, you know, in grade school and all that. And it's like, you know, we're just being ourselves. And I say it all the time, just be yourself, you know. And you know, the way I talk sometimes, I feel like I'm too laid back in my speech, you know, I'm a little bit too relaxed or whatever. So when I get into like a technical conversation with someone, it doesn't mean that I don't know what's going on. It's just because I don't talk maybe the same way that someone else talks. So sometimes I'm tempted to change the way that I am, you know, go, oh, why don't you shift gears a little bit and maybe be a little bit more, you know, kind of, you know, heady in my ways of talking, and a little bit more logical in my actions and things like that. But then I go, well, that's not really me though. That doesn't fit how I talk and how
Yeah,
I am.
and people kind of, you know, here's another fun fact too. This is going to add to what you're saying exactly, right? Like you get real technical. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to college. And essentially what they're paying for is to sit down in a chair for hours at a time and listen to someone lecture them. Does that sound crazy when it's phrased like that? Hey, pay me $50,000 a year. What are the benefits? Well, you can party all the time. Okay, I like that. But then 50% of the time or 70% of the time, you have to sit in a room with other people that don't say anything. You have to listen to a guy that lectures you about mathematics. Does that sound like a deal? Sounds great. It sounds really boring. You're like, no, but it's going to be, the benefit at the end is going to be so great. You're going to get an amazing job. It's going to be payout. But they're basically paying to sit and get lectured to. Like, if you say it that way, kind of don't want to go to college. But it's funny. Customer service is also an ideology. It's also a mindset. It's not just what you do. It's the customer service aspect can be how relatable you are as a human being, at which the other person will relate to or not. You probably will have better success in influencing people. Now, that's a whole nother topic, but influencing people, building your rapport naturally, not just trying to go, well, now it's time to build rapport. How are you? How's the weather? That type of thing. But by focusing more on things that have to do with tonality, have to do with how you're saying things, instead of listing out questions, you're creating conversation where you're listening, you're not thinking about the next question. And then depending on what they end at, you kind of are okay with, well, I got to stay on topic a little bit, but you're creating a conversation. You want them to open up to you, even like a therapeutic way, in a sense. Because, you know, adding breathing room, having the mindset of the deal's already closed. I'm going to service this guy, and that'll make a huge impact on them.
Mhm.
I found in my experience when I do my phone calls with potential clients, the first phone call is always, well, all of them are really relaxed and chill, but the first phone call is very conversational. I let him do all the talking mostly. I add comments. We brainstorm together. We have a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And I am thinking the whole time, I already closed this guy. I already closed it. Okay. He's a client
Mhm.
now. I treat everyone like they're already a client, whether or not it closes or not.
Mhm.
And then every call after that is building the plan. And so he'll call me and go, "Hey, Daniel, what's going on? Hey." And then he'll say, "Man, today was crazy because of that." But I start getting more people who tell me things like, "Yeah, I'm going to start tomorrow. Give me a call tomorrow. I'm going to start." And I know that's really flaky because when you start chasing people, that can be extended out like weeks, months, or even years.
Mhm.
But then I start getting people who are in control, not knowing that I'm controlling the situation to make it much less of a sales call. But people now have the control to think that they are able to decide what they want to do, right? They have an interest. They need the marketing. They need the service. They're going to utilize you. You give them reasons to and stuff, but now they are the ones that are going to close the deals for you. Things get much easier when you follow this type of process. It
Mhm.
might work for some people, it might not, but it works really well for me. So service them as a client before the deal's closed. Everything you
Yeah.
do should be formatted as a conversation. You guys are kind of in it together. Imagine also you're like business partners in a way. So you guys are consulting with each other. You're talking. You're tag teaming it, and people really relate to that. But
Yeah, synergy proves it's proven. It's I mean, one person can make so much impact, but then two people together, the term synergy comes into play, and then you can make like it's not even like double the impact. It's like multiplied exponentially. So, you could say like 1,000 the impact or something like that. So synergy is tremendous, and that's why marriages, are very powerful. Teams, basketball, football, baseball, those things are very powerful because you have a whole team coming together. Um, I think that's why they have presidents, vice presidents working together, coach and assistant coaches, teacher, TA, things like that. That synergy really creates what else? Principal, vice principal. It's a big deal, and yeah.
you
So
want
I
to
that's
get if you can get a prospect to say, "I really like working with you," and you're not even a client. I mean, just think about it for a second, right? There's a prospect, you didn't close the deal, there's no contract, nothing's made yet, and they go, "Man, Daniel, I really like working with you." That's amazing, right? You've accomplished what we were
yeah.
talking about with customer service in your sales is you got them to a point where they would say something like, "I really enjoy working with you, so like we're gonna make this happen."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you hear that they're already saying they enjoy working with you as if they already started to work with you, right? So it's kind of like in those situations, the customer already, in a sense, closed themselves, and they've already assumed the beginning of the work happening. So those are the great situations to be in sales. You know, yeah,
Right. Also,
yeah.
tailoring your sales. This kind of comes with just doing it too, but okay, if you're in front of a person and you start smiling a lot, not awkwardly, obviously, but like if you start doing certain things, that person will, to a certain extent, copy you. So if I'm a really smiley person and I'm not obnoxious, let's say, but I'm smiley, and you're with another person, that person will probably be very smiley and be on a better mood because he or she is going to want to get at the same level as you are. It's just a subconscious thing. It just happens. So if you can produce that same idea, incorporate that into your sales process, you'll get people saying things. I mean, I get people saying this to me like, Dan, I really like working with you. You know, I might spend another 20 minutes on a phone call that's going over time, right? But a lot of times those happen is because I'm listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like to talk. It's crazy what people, people who've been in sales for a long time or even customer service that probably know this. They probably go, oh man, I got some stories where I've been on the phone for like an hour listening to this person and has not stopped talking, right? But that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so if you know how to, well, I'm investing into it. Also a long-term thing, right? Probably the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. People will probably be like, no. But just in my opinion, I try not to do one call closes. The only time one call closes work for me is when I do things through pre-approved sites, right? Like I said this before too, but like freelance websites or people where they post jobs and it's through some third party. And then when we apply for those jobs, they already have a level of trust because we're like vetted, So to get on a phone call and go, hey, James, and you're like, yeah, I'm looking for ads. Simple as that. And like, cool, yeah, I do this. And they go, great, let's do it. They've already been through that whole vetting process. So one call closes there is pretty simple. But I try to avoid one call closes because you can't build a relationship. And I think long-term clients come from a factor of things, right? You can't just not be getting any sort of results. I mean, if you're in marketing, like results are kind of dependent on the perspective you have in a sense, but you got to have some sort of results. You got to have some sort of contact and service so they're not left in the dark. And the biggest thing for them to stay on long-term is you got to have a relationship with them. And those are the clients that if they do leave, they'll more easily come back to you again.
Yeah, I mean, in some senses, that's true. I mean, for whatever reason, people, they stop, receiving services, whether they can afford to, or because of a business decision or just a personal decision, they choose to go and go to a different, company or whatever it is. And you can't control that. You could try to convince them that they should stay with you for whatever reason, but ultimately the decision is in their hands to stay or to leave. And the thing with, what we're talking about with good customer service and good sales, your percent of losing customers goes down a whole lot. I mean, Tommy, we hang out. He buys Girl Scout cookies off of my daughter, right? I mean, we're like, he showed me where he lives, and we're gonna, have barbecues at his house, and he's showing me pictures of all of his family travels. They go, he's from Greece, so they travel back and forth, and he showed me photos and like all kinds of cool stuff, and it's just a fun thing that we have. And I know he would never just up and go to a different vendor or to a different company. I mean, I just have that trust. And, if he's quiet, not replying to my text messages or whatever, I know he's just busy. I don't assume, oh no, what if? You don't want that fear factor to ever, cause can you imagine you have a Rolodex of say even just 30 customers, right? And you're like, man, like I'm worried every day when that next one's going to leave. Or can you imagine being that person just like stressing out? Maybe you overly get excited when like the holidays come up so you can send out that Christmas card or whatever it is, or the birthday card out to them, and just like make sure they don't leave you or whatever. I mean, you're running on anxiety. You're not running off of good customer service. If you spend the time up front to give good customer service, and if you're consistent with that good customer service throughout the life of your relationship, you're not going to have those issues, and they'll be minimized a lot. And but if you're just like, if you're not putting that customer service out there from the beginning, thinking you just go off of your company's reputation or the name or the years in business you've been in, that's not going to stand in the end, So
yeah, that
when you
happens with new guys in sales too. So new guys in sales want to get rich quick. They're all about short term. They see the big dogs and they're like, man, I'm going to be there in a year. I mean, it's that type of stuff. And they focus on sales too much. They focus on they focus on the sale too much. They don't realize or have the experience that, these people you contact are kind of already your customers. It's the same thing as first impressions, right? You want to show someone the best self you can be when you meet them for the first time. So you dress up nicely, you probably wear your best clothes, you put gel in your hair, which probably you never put gel in your hair, right? But you do these weird things to try to make the best first impression. And then what happens is you try so hard, and then it's kind of funny. It doesn't really apply to anything, but you try so hard and then you mess it up because you tried too hard, just like human nature. But anyways, you do this weird stuff because you're human. So you kind of have to do that with the sales thing. Mm-hmm. I think having that balance between sales and servicing the client before they're even a client is kind of the golden spot of keep making yourself different than everyone else, because everyone else does the same thing. I mean, next time you are the listeners, guys, if you get a call from a sales guy, I'm not not saying buy anything from them, but just answer it. I'm telling you, answer the phone call. If you, after 4 weeks, you get like 4 of them or whatever, just compare them. I bet you're going to be like, oh, they're all the same. They're all the same, because they are. They just called so many people. They're bound to get someone to go along with the prompt and go, yeah, okay, cool. Sounds good. But all sales calls are the same. So if you can go, well, what are other people doing? How can I still do the same thing, obviously, which I think I keep saying the best thing is control. Where you're pushing the conversation. You know how to ask to close the deal, ask for the money, get everything done. You have those skills, but you apply listening, you apply the service base to it. I've already closed this client in your mindset. Make them feel that way. And then you achieve that thing where they say, man, I really like working with you. And you're like, well, James, I didn't even charge you yet. Like, you're not even a client. You want to get that point. If you hit that point, you have broken into something new where you're able to replicate, and people who aren't even your customers think that they're your customers.
Yeah, I mean, if you had customers coming up to you saying, I'm your customer, and they weren't, that's kind of a little bit of an interesting thing going on. It's like, wait a minute, we are kind of working together, I guess, but we never really agreed on anything.
Right.
But you're here talking to me, and it's like, trying to think if that's ever happened to me where someone just assumed they were my customer and expecting services, But
that happens to me.
It happens all the time.
That happens to me. Well, here's another example. And then just so everyone knows, our listeners, like, our trainings are not typical trainings. You might be sitting here and going, like, ready to take notes, and you're thinking, okay, where's the points? Where are the bullet points? We try our hardest to kind of keep this format loosey-goosey a little bit, kind of up to interpretation. Because at the end of the day, there's no real system. There's just perspective, and then the system is however you are and how you apply it, right? We're trying to entice ideas, brainstorming. Whether you have just started sales or customer service or whatever it is, or whether you're a veteran and been in it for 25 years, there's probably something at any point in anyone's life on their skills where they could rethink it and try new things and enhance what they're doing and make it convert better. There's always something new. So we try to make these practical and try to give you ideas of how you can implement it, but it's going to be a lot less bullet point. It's going to be a lot more conversational. And I hope, people enjoy that. But
no, for people out there that are struggling with this, like, how do I implement good customer service? How do I even start this process of, kind of getting a makeover or reinventing myself? But by the way, it's not major changes. You don't have to, all of a sudden become like the friendliest person in the world. But I tell you, if you just make minor modifications, even like I said earlier, when you shake someone's hand, if you don't shake hands, try to shake someone's hand. When you walk into an office or you walk into a meeting and you see people you don't know, go up there and introduce yourself. Just, hey, put a hand out, shake their hand, and make good eye contact. Hi, my name's so and so. Thank you. Nice to meet you. And that's sometimes the difference maker between, if you're going for a job interview, getting the job, or if you're going for, trying to win the deal, winning the deal.
Yeah,
It's
job interviews.
little minor things like that.
Yeah, job interviews. Like, people just hire people because they like them. Like, there might be some qualifications that you have to do. I mean, obviously, but I mean, really, the knit and grit is they just like the person.
Yeah, or they dislike it, so they don't get hired, right? So, I mean, it can go both ways. If you're the nice guy, it might work out for you. Or if you're the guy that is endlessly complaining, that could work against you as well. So it's kind of like, negative customer service is it kind of goes the same way.
Yeah, I agree. I have two more things to share. There was a time before I started all this business stuff and marketing where I was trying to get a job at this company, do like sales, and they have like a healthcare platform for doctors to use. It's like a CRM thing for doctors who own their own clinics and stuff, something like that. I tried to get a job there, and this was before I had any experience in sales whatsoever. And they asked me, "What do you think sales is?" And I said, "Customer service." And I didn't know anything about sales, frankly. But I said customer service, and he goes, "Okay." And I explained it, and I don't remember exactly what he said, like word by word, but I know for sure he disagreed with it. And this guy was a sales guy. He was in sales for like 15 years. He's a director. He's, had that whole thing. But he disagreed with it. He goes, no, it's not. It's not. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I just remember he disagreed with it. And he said sales is about, I don't remember what he said. Dang it. But my point is he disagreed with that. And I still believe, even now with my sales experience I have now, I still believe it is heavily customer service, heavily.
Yeah.
And that might be because everyone's so used to getting sold that when you implement a new factor of the service idea, they relate to that a lot more because they go, man, you're not like a typical sales guy, right? People say that to me too. But the hard part is the process, being able to keep control of the conversation. Like, here's our discovery call. I need to ask you these questions so I can figure out what I can do to help you. And so you just have to do the phone calls and know your process on how to make it flow in conversation without making it seem like you're listing questions off here and there. And then you get your proposal, or you don't get a proposal, however you do it. I really hate proposals. I think they're the dumbest things in the world. I hate them. But that's another conversation. But you do your proposal call. You get on the phone with them, and then same thing, right? You list your questions off, you explain how it works, and you go, are you ready to move forward? But if you can change that to still following your sales process, pain points, asking the right questions, right? That whole thing. But you do it with a customer service touch and feel, that's the sweet spot. But that kind of just comes from just doing it, and instead of giving like a set of like, follow these steps, I would say the best thing to do is, there are tons of customer service videos on YouTube. And I'm not kidding. Like, if you search YouTube video customer service, you're going to get a video of someone teaching you how to service your customers. Specifically, if you search sales video, you're going to get a video on someone teaching you only how to do sales, close the deal, ask the questions. Now you morph them together, you become a personal person that people like, that closes deals.
Yeah, that's good. It's a hybrid. I think so. And I think, it sounds like this discussion is like, talking down on, your average salesperson out there. I think a lot of people just inherently have good customer service and they don't know they're doing it. So, and they don't know what it's
It's like
called, you
it's
know?
like manners, really. That's
Yeah,
part of
man,
it.
you know, if you're, yeah, like I said, if you meet someone for the first time, are you introducing yourself? You say your name, you know? It's, you know, cause honestly, like, people, if you're personal with them, they'll like that. But also, you know, if you come across polite, they'll remember that, you know,
Yeah.
I think, you know, it goes back to what I said a couple of times ago. It's just, you know, people remember how you made them feel, not necessarily, you know, what you say, you know. Do I remember everything that like all my past coworkers in sales have said to me? Hey, James, you should do it this way or that way, or here's the approach you should take, or all the advice I've been given. I remember some of it, but do I remember how certain people made me feel? Yeah, when I was with that guy,
Right.
Curtis, man, he was just always
Yeah.
just right there for me, you know?
Oh,
So yeah,
James,
yeah.
here's what you want to accomplish. Here's another great example. Okay. Do you know that feeling you get? And this is for anyone listening. Do you know that feeling you get when you call into customer service and you just hit the right person, right? You hit the right person and he or she is just amazing, right? They go like, maybe you say like, I have a problem with my account, and he or she goes, oh yeah, I'll take care of it. And they're just like, they have a great tone, they sound good, they're really personal, and they go, okay, it's all taken care of. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it for you, right? You just get off the phone, and you're like, oh, that was so satisfying. Haven't you had that before?
Yeah, you know, when I have problems with my cell phone, you know, I call into, you know, various providers. You know, I'm just happy because my issue got resolved. But I mean, sometimes when they go above and beyond and they're giving you, you know, talking to you, you know, with nice words, with the thank you, sir, and all that good stuff, it's like they make you feel good, but they also take care of your problems. So they kind of got that A plus, right?
Right, but you hit those certain sweet spot people where, because a lot of times you hit some customer service reps and you're like, oh God, can I transfer it? But you hit these sweet spot people and you just get like, this is great service, great
Yeah.
service. All right.
Right. Yeah.
And then kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, so help me out. But so you hit that. Now, oh, I remember now. Now you hit the sweet spot person, okay? And then versus the person where you're like, oh man, gosh, this person's an idiot. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Now, most of the time, these customer service reps, sometimes, not everyone does this, but sometimes they do things like, and maybe they're just a sales rep or something, I don't know, but sometimes they do the thing where it's like, okay, you're all set. Now we also have a promotion this month. It's this, and if you're interested, we'll do that, right? Sometimes the customer service reps do that.
Mhm.
Or like the account manager or whatever. Now, comparable, the one customer service rep that you're like, oh, it's so annoying, right? And then just blatantly reads off the script. Yep. And if you like to do that, it's an extra $30 per month. Are you interested? No, I'm done. Okay. But if you have that sweet spot rep, right, where you're like, oh man, this person killing it. He or she's taking care of everything. I just feel like they're understanding what I'm saying. And she mentions something like that, I'm probably going to buy from her, even if I don't need the damn thing. I mean, like, it's the feeling I get from that person. And I'd much rather buy from a person and people always say, people like to buy from people they like. And that's totally true. But you're in control of all the human aspects, the tonality, how you sound, things you say. People want convenience. So
Yeah, true.
you're taking care of them. They can read that. And so when you use the same format and everything of how you're servicing someone and bring in the sales process, it'll work so much better. People really like that. They'll like actually be attracted to you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, it's a law of attraction in a sense. You know, if they have that good feeling towards you and they feel like they could trust you and you're having some solutions for them on top of that, they'll want to talk to you and gravitate towards you, you know?
Yeah, it's like when you go to bars, you go out to party and like I said, first impressions. So everyone puts their nicest clothes on. They look sharp. They want to look like they're millionaires. They drive their nicest car. Okay. It's all first impression. It's all perceived. They want people. Oh, and then here's the best part. They'll be on their best mood, the best attitude, right? They might be a little more outgoing than they typically are. They might do things that they normally wouldn't do, like karaoke or something like that, right? That's why people have a lot of fun when they go out, because everyone seems to be at their best and their personality shines the best. And everyone, you see, it kind of, they feed off each other. So it keeps growing and they
Yeah.
start doing things that they don't
One
normally.
thing I would stress too, though, on top of all that we're talking about, is it almost sounds like we might be saying that, you know, oh, just act it, you know, you're not really a good, friendly person, just act like you are. That's not what we're saying, you know. I mean, you know, what we're saying is that, you know, you are a nice person, you are a kind person. Now just go out there and be yourself, you know, because, you know, there's just too much hype about, like, you know, people trying to just take advantage of each other in business. And, you know, so we buy into that and we think, oh yeah, I'm just a criminal, I'm just a, you know, a person trying to get the advantage over someone else, or,
I'm just a
you know,
delinquent. Yeah. Totally.
you know what I mean? But those, I mean, what about no, I'm a nice, friendly person. I'm a helpful person. I'm a person that wants to solve problems, you know? And then we have that attitude, that customer service will go out naturally, right? And
Well, the sales
and
and
we're not, yeah,
the sales and marketing is in when you go out on a Friday night. You know, you're trying to put your best foot forward. You're trying to be the best self. You're trying to convince people
every
that
day,
you are the coolest person in the room.
yeah, every day. And it's not about that either too. I mean, I like that too, Daniel, but like, just being the best version of you, you know, because you can only become better you or worse you,
Right.
you know. And because honestly, like, you know, I mean, and it doesn't say, I mean, me personally, just me talking now, it's like, yeah, sometimes I'll get into a situation and I'll look at the other person and be like, oh man, yeah, they have all this and that, and, you know, I'm not really there. And, you know, it's like, then you start doing that thing, and that's never ending, you know. Now that'll destroy you, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you have to be careful, because if you push too hard, you might come off a little cocky, or you might be a little arrogant and stuff. But for the most part, those Friday nights are kind of when you put a lot of effort into making yourself shine.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, I mean,
it's
yeah,
that's kind of the basis of this entire, I guess, training that we're doing, is training / discussion format, if you will, is
yeah,
is it's hard to, it's like, it should be the easiest thing in the world, but it's hard to accomplish, right? It's easy to identify someone that you talk to when they're different. You know, when someone's being real, you can identify that. You can't fake that. People can have the sense to identify these types of things. When you come
yeah,
off formatted or non-genuine, you can sense that, you know. And
yeah,
people, that whole Friday night thing I'm adding to is, normally, let's just say, typically when you do that, you tend to have fun with each other, and everyone seems to, you meet new friends and you guys are having fun together and you build a larger group. People like are attracted to that.
yeah,
So if you can tap into the same type of thing and just be yourself, and there's a weird disconnect, right? People are themselves when they're not at work, and then when they go to work, they are so ingrained in this thing of professionalism, which, I mean, to a certain extent you have to be professional, right? But they're ingrained in, like, I have to have good behavior. I can't, there's some like boundaries that they put themselves in, because
yeah,
the boundaries might be there because they don't know what boundaries or how far they can go, right? So they know my job is to do sales. I call people, I close the deal. I have to make a certain quota. My job is not customer service. Like, nurses feel that way. You know, hospitals, there's a lot of solutions that hospitals can do that won't cost them a lot of money at all, right? When you walk into a hospital, if you were greeted like a Walmart greeter and said, "Hey, how's it going? How are you? Welcome to community hospital. Do you need help with anything?" Right? You don't need to hire someone. Just get like a volunteer or an intern, whatever. Have someone do that. Now I don't know about the legal stuff, anything, but just by adding that one simple thing can really turn someone's experience of a hospital, which usually is dreadful, into a pleasant experience. So when people have this job thing, they go, well, I just need to do sales and this, I don't need to do a customer service thing. You know, they don't understand it. That's when they sound like every other sales guy. And they're kind of stuck in this bubble because they don't know, well, I don't want to get in trouble if I start spending too much time on the phone with this customer. Or if I start, you know, because they'll listen to my phone calls and go, hey, you're not closing the deal, close the deal. And you're like, well, I'm trying to like service this customer and take a different approach. And so they get stuck in this thing.
Yeah, it's true.
So I know it can be hard to like implement this, but it's one of the best things that you can do to really make yourself differ. The final go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Dan. You got a thought there. Go for it.
Okay, the final thing I have to add is there's a solar company in San Diego. And I mentioned this before. I guess we repeat a lot of things. But anyways,
it's all good.
I said this ties into it perfectly. So there's a solar company and they have a lead problem. They're not producing enough leads. And one of the things I recommended to them was create your sales process to service them. So no free quotes, no free anything that has to do with like a sales thing. It's the last thing you want to do because every other company does free quotes and free this and all that stuff, but it's all triggers. Do this so you can get a free sales pitch, basically. Mm-hmm. Now tweak it and do what no one else is doing, which is, look, we know you're looking at other companies. We know you're searching around. You're looking for the best deal possible. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll help. Here's a guide that will show you a list of things to do while you're searching. It'll help you make decisions better. So it'll say like, whatever's in the guide, right? It just gives a person like, oh, this is great because I am shopping around, which most of the time they are. And it gives them a guide to help them do it more easily. Now, when you call those people up, you are now servicing them. You're not selling them. And the sale will come from that distinction. So you call up James. I go, James, how's it going? I saw you downloaded my free guide. I know you're shopping around and stuff. Do you have any questions or anything I could help you with to make that decision easier? Right?
Yep.
And they're going to go, wow, it's nice not to be sold. You know, and then you're servicing them, you build the relationship, you show what it's like to work with them. They're going to really go, oh, these guys are amazing. They're helping me figure out the decision. And they're not just giving me a free quote.
Right. Yep. That's right.
I would say that's the best way for me to like put it in a nutshell.
Yep. Yep. I mean, you know, you also position yourself as the expert, kind of the person in town that knows what's going on, you know, and not only are they getting good service and, you know, a good person on the phone talking to them, but they're getting the best that's out there. Right. So in their mind, they're going, I'm talking to the right person. They're treating me nicely. Hey, I might have to pay a little bit more or pay extra for a quote, but I'm still going to go forward with this. Right. Because we're, you know, especially in the grand scheme of things, like if it's solar, that's a big part of their house, you know, I mean, that's a big investment, right? So, you know, might as well get the best, right? And do it the right way. So, you know, that's a good example. Honestly, that's probably the best example to end on because, you know, solar companies are just out there right now. How many seconds does it take before the next house goes solar? It was like 30 seconds last I remember, and then there's another solar house, and it's just they're just flying, you know, out there. And if a solar company can get it right, and you know, figure out, well, you know, how do I really do this the best way to service a customer and earn some good business? I mean, that's gonna be a good thing, you know. And so, yeah, we don't give out a lot of names of companies. I know I name dropped a couple here, but normally we'll just kind of give general examples. But if any of this stuff is making a difference for you listening today or in our previous podcast, please continue to listen. Daniel and I do really conversational topics like this, and we kind of flesh things out through conversation. So that's why we say at the beginning, just please join the conversation. And, you know, we might not be the most polished or even well-spoken at times, right? But I mean, we get things done, and this is coming from not only heart, but also experience. So that's all I got for now, Daniel. Anything else for you?
I always say the same things a lot, like a final thought. I have one more thing to say. It's just like keeps flowing. I got a lot of juice in my head. I'm ready to just
Yeah, it's good.
explode. But you know,
That's good.
it is difficult to make changes and implement new things because it's kind of scary and stuff like that sometimes. And think whatever you're doing right now might work very well for you. But I mean, you could have essentially, like, if you just spend enough money and you have an okay lead system, like, it's a numbers game, right? So even if you get 1 million people and 0.5% turn into something, or less than 0.5%, that's still like worthwhile in a way, because you're just like pushing so much traffic and you have a system that kind of does it really pretty well, right? But imagine if you had a better system, pushed the same amount of traffic, focused more on something that made people subconsciously become attracted to you. You know, it's kind of an unfinished thought there, but I'm really intrigued by that. I'm really intrigued with building some special thing to create inbounds based off the experience with you. It's something like that. But that's a food for thought. We'll talk about that more later. But James, I agree with everything you just said, and I hope everything we talked about today was helpful and kind of, I know we can be vague at times, but hopefully you can take something out of this, I guess what we call training for you. And maybe you can start implementing some of those into your day-to-day or sales process or customer service. And if you have any sort of success or new ideas that come to mind from listening to this, you know, leave us a comment, shoot us an email, let us know. We'd love to add that in our next podcast and talk. But I think I am tapped out.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, that was great, man. I think I learned a lot during this podcast because, you know, a lot of times we're just being ourselves and we don't realize how much goodness we're putting out there, you know, and we just take for granted that, you know, I have all this energy or all these ideas or all these good thoughts. Man, people pay top dollar for this kind of stuff. And, you know, we have to, you know, in the end, you know, our listeners, especially too, and also the two of us here today, I mean, you know, there's value in what we bring, you know, and whether it's from your own personal experience or business or professional experience, I mean, all of us bring valuable things. So I like to just end my thought with that. Like, let's close with saying, you know, let's not listen to all those negative thoughts that we have, but listen to the positive ones and the positive experiences we've made for other people in our lives, whether it be a family member or a coworker or someone you helped out in business. You know, I mean, just think about all those things you've done, and let's run off of those highs and help other people in the future. All of us have our unique experiences and bring a lot to the table. So with that in mind, friends, that's a wrap. We look forward to you joining us the next Saturday. Daniel and James signing off.